Low Simple has kind of stayed the same kind of person.
Well, in his Lowe's, I didn't really know him when he was younger. I knew his parents, and I'm really appreciating Lowe lately because he's an optimist. He's decided he's going to be an optimist, and he's going to enjoy life here. And it's so refreshing. I've got to say, so refreshing when, it's so easy to fall into that whole, the dark nostalgia, regrets.
Well, the battle, the battle that everybody seems to be fighting on social media, it seems like, is the fact that it's inevitable. Change is always around. It's like I was just saying to Amy, my wife, is that, the change that's going on in Aspen, it's here
everywhere
too.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
It's just very different. And Aspen is so small and such an interesting little place that the changes I see in Portland are big and cultural, and Aspen being so small, it's like you can see it more. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, also, like, one guy comes in and farts and the whole town freaks out about it, right?
Exactly.
And what's even worse is Telluride. Like, you got to Telluride, and in 20 minutes you feel like you've seen everybody in town.
Yeah.
And it's so tiny that we're actually a little bit luckier. But everybody here is really passionate, and as we've seen lately, I'm in the middle of all that. You get people who are just, you can't imagine the crazies that come in and do public comment at our meetings on any topic you can imagine. There's like the big ones like the airport and the housing and all that stuff, but then there are people who walk in and just riff on how vaping, why are we letting people vape in bars or something, and it's just like, God, I guess it's good to have passionate people here.
Yeah. Well,
that reminds me of the 90s when they outlawed smoking at the bars, and I think it was Hunter Thompson said, smoke weed, the fine is cheaper or something like that.
Right. Yeah. The fine's low.
Or they'd go to the Redstone Castle to smoke, and because there's only one cop up there, once a day or something.
Right.
It's still part of Pitkin County, but it's
right.
way the hell out there.
Yes.
But I think the question earlier was, what's this all about? This just the idea for the podcast is kind of based on the old the Stube table, the joiners table around there, and I've seen them elsewhere too. We go down to see my dad in Fruta now, and you'll go to a breakfast place and there'll be an old timers table, those,
right?
Little farmers and miners and stuff just sitting around. And
that's right now, since it's off season and the airport's closed because they're ripping up the pavement. So it's shut down, and the town's really, it's not as quiet as, it's not like off season in the old days. There's still cars on the highway, but there's only like one coffee shop open, and that's at the base of the gondola. Gorsuch House has a cafe, and you go in there and you see the old guys sitting around the table. Like I can go and I see Hans Rieger will be there every day after I walk in. He's sitting there, and people come and hang out, and it's like, it's funny, off season, one cafe open, and you start seeing everybody because they all show up.
Yeah,
we still have that. Yeah, it still happens here.
And
well, I think in terms of the optimism, I've had to think about it for a while, because when I left, it was due to a number of factors, mostly financial, growing up, getting kicked out of the nest, all that kind of stuff. But it was also a distaste for a lot of the newer folks that were coming there, so not being there, it's really easy to kind of shit on the place. But I was thinking about it from your perspective in Lowe and everybody else who lives there. It's like, of course you're optimists, man. You gotta be. You live there. You still want it to be good. Why wouldn't you?
It's like, you're right on about that. And I was thinking when you said that, I was at an ACES event about 4 or 5 years ago with, I'll think of his name here. The famous entomologist and writer, and a guy who's concerned about the future of the planet, who died a few years ago. Ed. Goddamn, he's written all these books. Like he's like the Harvard professor. And I just said, hey, how do you manage to stay, I'll think of his name in a minute, how do you manage to keep doing this? It's like in the face of all these species decline and extinctions and, environmental catastrophe, how do you manage to do it? He said, well, we have no choice but to be an optimist. And I thought, wow, he's right. He's totally right. You can go down the rabbit hole, it's just not, there's a whirlpool in there that's going to suck you down. And if you're going to try to accomplish something or make things better or reverse, all these things like what he was writing about, you have no choice but to be an optimist. I take that to heart. I think that's one of my favorite, thoughts from one of these big thinkers that it was so much fun to bump into him because, I knew who he was. I'd read his books and turned my kids onto him and all that. And then there he was, and I had a chance to talk to him. That was the message. You have no choice but to be an optimist.
I feel like lately, the big thing I've been learning is about perspective and the lack of. And the trick is that to have as many perspectives as possible. So when you're looking at a situation, you're not just looking at it in this tunnel box and everybody, all those people, why is this? Why is that? It's because they're in this tunnel vision and they're not looking at the whole perspective. And you being a commissioner, it's interesting because you're doing this song and dance thing where you kind of have to deal with all the different people, everyone.
You're in the fishbowl, as our manager says. We're in the fishbowl. Everybody's looking at us all the time. There's nothing private about our lives, and we're available all the time for criticism or anything else. And you get used to it, and you're right. We get that all the time, and part of it is realizing most people, you're right, have blinders and they don't see the big picture. And a lot of them don't really want to. The first reaction I see to any new idea is often, how do we shoot the legs out of it, under it, before it has a chance to grow? And I see it happen so many times now that when I'm running meetings and things, I'll announce at the beginning, it's like, first of all, there are no bad ideas, and no one dares in my meeting try to kill something before we've heard what it's about and contemplated it. And I realized I don't usually get mad in public, but those are the few times I've just gotten really pissed off. It's like, you know what? You can't kill an idea, even if, maybe you don't understand it, but and you realize that, you see that on social media also, whether it's coming electric vehicles, you look at the pushback on electric vehicles or the pushback on electrification or any new thought that comes along. Taylor Swift, everybody's going to hate on her until maybe they decide she's about, you just think, wow, that's the initial reaction, is to diss something. Is that some sort of instinctual self-preservation mechanism? I don't know.
I think it's the easy excuse. I think it's the easiest thing to outburst and let out is anger and hatred. And I feel like the ability to think about it takes a little bit of process for the person, the surfer dude that's sitting back, kind of like waiting for the right situation to come in. And I feel like that's sort of the difference. And,
well, it's a whole judgment thing too. I mean, it's the, like you said before, it's the total anti-change. Anybody has a new idea or anybody has a new concept. Man, that's not like anything we've ever done before, Right. Yeah. And it's fear. Instantly fear comes up. What could go wrong, right? But as the saying goes, it's the train's coming either way. You can either be on it or you can be under it,
Yeah, exactly. That's like, I like that. That's like my poster. I keep talking about making a poster. I don't really need to, but I kind of want to. And that one of the quotes is, if you're not at the table, you're probably on the menu. And that's like either
I like it.
Either you're riding the train or you're under it.